Tupac and Murf. We talking Raiders and Gruden football dirt. Cause it's a new type Raider talk show. We're trying to have good times. Let's go. It's Mondays with Mikey and Murf. Everybody knows the fix is in. What's Gruden doing? I don't know. Where do I begin? Are we tanking? Are we not? All I know is I'm pissed off a lot. I'm tired of losing. I want to win. Where do I begin? How about we debate everything on Mondays with Mike and Murf? Because it's Mondays with Mikey. He's Murf. He's my good friend. We talking Raiders and football dirt. Because we are a new Raiders talk show. He's from Murf's Fan Cave. Let's go. It's Mondays with Mikey and Murf. Woo! What's up, Murf? It is that time again where we can't celebrate a victory Monday. How you feeling?
Mikey, I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for asking. And that's a mighty fine-looking shirt you're wearing there, buddy.
That's right. Raiders Fan Radio, Murf and Sonny representing NFL copyright. Come after me for wearing a shield.
Hey, don't tempt him. Don't tempt him now.
Uh-oh. Well, I am dressed like Tupac today with my bandana with bunny ears, because I'm the thug today. I'm going to be the thug today. I'm pissed off. We can have fun.
You look very thuggerific. And, you're from Los Angeles. You pull off that look good, Mikey.
Well, you know what? Just like Raiders for life, thug life for life.
There you
go.
Does
that make sense? Thug life for life?
Thug life for life. I don't know. Do you have that tattooed across over the top of your belly button?
No, it says, I actually have a tattoo down there, but it says, if you see this, you're giving me a BJ.
Oh, jeez.
Hey, all right, let's get on. I'm hungover, Murf. I am literally hungover. And I didn't even drink yesterday. Oh, wait a second. I did drink. The Gruden Kool-Aid starting in February.
Yeah, we're all a little Raider drunk, I think, my friend. Ugh.
Well, let's just be honest. We got a big show. We're not only talking Raiders. We will do that in the game review segment with the headlines. We're also going to talk a little NFL topics because I love football in general. So don't get mad and say, start talking about Raiders. Let's just do some headlines, breadlines, deadlines, because they blow my mind. Murf, let's just get the show started. This is going to be a doozy.
Let's do it, my man.
All right, it's time for the headlines, breadlines, deadlines, blow my mind. Murf, rent is rent. Rent is rent. Love is love is love. Rent is rent is rent.
That's it.
All right, the major headline, and again, we'll do more on the game review, but the Raiders were completely embarrassed on the world stage in London. Do you agree?
Yeah, I thought there was very little to get excited about when we watched and witnessed what happened down there in your neck of the woods in Los Angeles when we played the Chargers. But I could not imagine that we would see a worse performance the following week. Mikey, the regression was almost unprecedented. We've been to some pretty low lows in Raider Nation, and this is down there with a handful of others. I won't say it's the lowest. I know a lot of people are out there saying, oh, this is the worst we've ever been. Easy, not yet. We're not that bad yet. I know it's horrible. I'm not apologizing for what's going on. It's a travesty, but it's not the worst ever. It's, this team has been around since 1960. We've had a lot of low lows, but this is a pretty good one. This is a pretty good one.
Well, a lot of Raider Nation, just like me, live emotion to emotion, moment to moment. And this moment, we're the worst ever at this moment. But yeah, that's completely the statement that summarizes this game. And I just don't want to talk about it. We kind of have to. But
yeah, we got that whole show thing we got to do. Yeah, we got to talk about it. But it sucks. I'm with you though, man. This is the hardest part. I'll tell you what. Before we get into everything, for those of you that are listening, this is and I'm not trying to look for your sympathy here. Don't get me wrong, but this is the toughest part about doing these things, about doing podcasts and video casts, and because we are diehard Oakland Raiders fans. We get excited about our football team, and we want to talk to you about things that are fun. We don't like just getting our brains beat in every week. And sometimes, man, it's hard to get on here and to talk about the team because it's you know what I mean? It was enough of a beatdown Sunday. Now here we got to get on Monday and we got to talk about it. Holy crap! I just want to forget about it. You know what I mean? So we're with you. I just say all that to say this: we're with you, Raider Nation, man. This one sucks, man. This is a tough one.
I was so mad I designed a T-shirt and put it for sale to make money off of Gruden. Why? Because I feel like Gruden is stealing from us. So I made a T-shirt called #FireGruden. And a lot of Raider fans are pissed off about that. They're like, how could you monetize on a travesty? Well, how could he monetize on me?
Yeah,
How could he get 10 years, $100 million and tank the season? I'm upset.
Allegedly $100 million. But I'm with you. You know what? I don't begrudge anybody for trying to make money. But I do. I mean, but here's two things I'll just say to that. Number one, it's 6 games in, so we've got a long, long way to go. And number two, you can sell. I hope you sell 1 million T-shirts, Mikey, and it isn't gonna. He's not gonna go anywhere. He's still gonna be our coach 9 years from now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know, but maybe the hashtag will be correct of Fire Gruden in 2022. So that's the date.
I don't know. The Raiders might be good then. After we trade all of our players and get all these draft picks, we might be good by 2022.
That's good positivity to hold. All right, I'm going to pose this question, and you're going to kill me, Murf. It just came into my head. I know you can't stand him, but would you want Phillip Rivers to be the quarterback of this team instead of Derek Carr now?
Heck no. No, man, I have to deal with watching that guy in a bolo tie do his press conference. Heck no, man. I don't know. Not only is he's as old as I am, but no, heck no. Give me the young guy that's still on the up and coming. And we can beat up on Derek Carr all we want, but one thing is certain, that we do not know how good he is going to be, and we've never seen him surrounded by the kind of talent that even the freaking Chargers have right now. So no, I would not trade him in, not for a second.
I don't know why I asked that question, but I like Phillip Rivers' moxie as compared to Derek Carr's right now. I'm just saying, I see fire for football from Phillip Rivers more so than I do at this moment in Derek Carr. The Raiders apparently violated the injury reporting policy with Kelechi Osemwele and possible Colton Miller for their injury designations versus the Chargers. This speaks a lot in terms of the staff, the planning, and what's going on. And again, I'm not going to go into whether it's a true mistake by the Raiders or not in terms of, violating a policy. I'm just going to speak. Is this NFL issue? Why is it for competitive advantage, to announce their injury status? Or is it really for gamblers so they can make money off of players that are injured knowing that? I don't know. What are your thoughts on this NFL issue? Is it competitive advantage or for gambling? And should they even have to let teams know the policy or what injury designation they are?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. The NFL is not going to come out, especially back in the old days, they're not going to come out and tell you that it was, before gambling became what it was, as legal as it is and accepted and widely used and exposed as it is nowadays. And heck, now it's so, we're going to have a team in Las Vegas. Like it's become practically a non-issue nowadays because of the money and the technology and all the other things that have changed the dynamics of the league. But as far as competitive go, yeah, I think that it's definitely a competitive advantage. And if you look at the Patriots, Bill Belichick had Tom Brady. I don't even know if they still do it or not, but once upon a time, Tom Brady was on the injury list every single week for a shoulder for like 10 years, right? So, yeah, absolutely, you can use that as a tool to your advantage. And the smart guys, the savvy coaches, will use that. It's another tool. So if you can use it and in a way that it's legal, in a way that it doesn't violate any of the rules of the NFL, well, then have right at it, man. I don't see anything wrong with it at all. I'm all about the game within the game. You see my shirt right here, Mr. Coach, man. I'm all about coaching the game within the game. And that's what Al Davis did so brilliantly. That's one of the things that I love about him. It's one of the things that John Madden did so brilliantly. If you can win the psychological battle of the game, a lot of times you can win the physical battle as well. And that's what, again, made Al so great. He was psyching people out before they ever even got to the stadium. And then he psyched them out when they got there. And before the first snap even took place, they were already psyched out by the mystique and the Oakland Raiders and the Coliseum and everything else. So if you can use these kind of tools to gain an advantage, have at it, man. I don't see anything wrong with it at all.
I just don't understand, I don't understand a lot of things in life, so don't hate me on that. I just don't understand why you even have to tell the other teams, who's injured, what status, doubtful. There's 5 different tiers. It just bothers me. The players got to play. So if they can prepare, oh, that guy's injured, so we don't have to worry about him. That seems like a competitive disadvantage to me. I don't know why they even have to announce it. Look, Martavius Bryant, if he's going to play, he's going to play. Whether he's got an illness or not, he traveled with the team. The player's got to play with whoever's on the other side of the field regardless. But in a way, by them letting them know a player's injury, it lets the other team learn how to exploit that weakness. Because, if there's a very serious injury designation, the other team can game plan for it. Oh, that guy's got a bad left knee, because the NFL forces them to tell us about it. So let's go at his left knee, or let's game plan away from him. And that might be the case with Colton Miller. I don't even understand why Colton Miller's playing with an MC2 sprain, and then Kelechi Osemele's not even playing. I don't know. It's just whatever.
I think the roots of it are what you said, and I just looked up a couple of things, and the roots of it are definitely in wagering. I mean, there's no doubt about that the roots of it. Now, whether the NFL has said that aloud, I don't know, and I'll dig into that because I'm curious now myself after you brought it up. I think that's an interesting study, to see what the roots are of that and to see how it's evolved over the years, and especially again now with it being legal. So I'm with you, but there's definitely a competitive advantage there to be had. I mean, if a player you think is going to play doesn't show up, well, then, that changes the dynamic of the football game.
Exactly. You can use it, like you said, like the Patriots have done on occasion. And I think Gruden should use it to his advantage in the future. Say Amari Cooper is, probable or questionable with an ankle injury every damn week. So then you put Amari Cooper out in the field, then he blows cats away because they think he's got an ankle issue. Well, but he really has his speed. I shouldn't have said Amari Cooper. I should have said Jordy Nelson in that statement. My apologies.
Well, you're not going to have to worry about Amari Cooper for very much longer because he's going to be gone anyways. He's going to be a Cowboy, and we're going to have a third-round draft pick. Woohoo!
Oh, we're getting into that fire sale in a minute, but speaking of fire sale or disadvantage or whatever, Le'Veon Bell wants his money. He's coming back to the team to keep his free agency alive. Will Le'Veon Bell, I love this stuff. I love football. That's why we're talking about it. Will he even play hard coming back to the team? Is he going to self-tank and say, oh, I have a soft tissue issue after a couple of plays so he don't get injured, to forego his free agency season? What are your thoughts on Le'Veon Bell? If he's going to tank, play hard, whatever.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust anything that this guy's going to do. Of course, you got to show up by week 10 in order to qualify for the NFL season. Otherwise, the team then retains your rights. So if you don't show up for the entire year, you're just going to still be a Pittsburgh Steeler anyways next year, and you're back in the same boat, and you've lost a year of not only of your playing time, but of your life, because you know what I mean? You only have a finite amount of years you're going to be great in the NFL, especially as a running back. I mean, they're very limited to their years of productivity unless you're an occasional freak like Marshawn Lynch, who's still into his 30s and still producing, or Adrian Peterson. The usual for running backs is not that. The usual, even for the great ones, they fall off a cliff at like 30 years old. Look at Emmitt Smith, right? Like by the time those guys make it to the latter years, they're done. LaDainian Tomlinson. But anyway, so all that said, yeah, he's going to show up, but I would not trust him that he's going to be the Lev Bell that we've come to know, and because of everything that you said, because he's going to be a wide open free agent. Now, what happens if he goes out there and gets hurt? Well, that's going to prevent him from any of the kind of huge contract that he's looking for, that he's holding out for to begin with. So I don't know, man. This is going to be a weird situation. This is definitely going to be one of the more interesting stories of the back half of the NFL season, seeing whether this guy shows up or not, and then when he does, what he looks like, Mikey. That's a great question.
And if he doesn't play well, if he plays half-heartedly, they call it, or if he says, I don't want to practice as much, I don't want to play as much, bring me in. If he self-tanks, it might be because the team is mad at him, but it also might be where other players see him self-tanking and they place that on his character. They go, do we want to pay a running back at 30 years of age this type of money who literally is self-tanking, proving that all he cares about is money? Do we really want a player with bad character if he doesn't play hard? So I think he has to play hard to prove it again, post all this drama that he's added to his account. He should have just came in and played. Then there would be no question about his character. But now there's even more questioning, in my opinion, about his character. And I think he is going to self-tank. And they got James Conner. who they might bring in on first and second down and a lot more to prove a point to Le'Veon Bell during the season. But that'll work in Le'Veon's favor because he won't have to play as much. Quick ending thoughts on this subject.
Yeah, well, he's 26, so I'm sorry, I didn't mean to mislead you on that. He's 26, but if he loses a year of playing at 26, like that's the middle of like the freaking prime of his career, right? Because he's only got, like I said, if he follows the path of most running backs, he's got 3 or 4 more years of high level productivity, and then he's going to drop off of some sort. We'll see when he gets there. But so at that age, now you're right. Is that going to sell? Or present a bad image to other teams that he's looking for somebody to sign him to this big old giant contract? I'm with you, dude. So I don't know what we're going to get. Are we going to see him ball out, or are we going to see him tank? I don't know. I think that's a very, very interesting question. And I wonder if you get to the point where the relationship is just soured enough to where he now is going, and he and his agent are just going to reside in the idea that, look, they're not going to get this monster payday, that they're going to get a lowered payday, and they'll just take a lowered payday for another team. It's just not going to be Pittsburgh anymore.
Here's the scary thing. That might be the same exact scenario for Amari Cooper next year in the 5th-year option as the same scenario for Khalil Mack in his 5th-year option. So, well, the circle doesn't run far from the tree.
Well, Mack's gone. He's got his new deal, so it won't impact him at all. But you're dead on in terms of Amari Cooper. That's the one that I don't get, Mikey, because he's already looking at the Raiders don't have to pick up this last year option where it's going to cost them like $13 million or whatever the heck the number is. But I mean, the Raiders aren't obligated to pick that number up. And so here you got a guy that, now granted he's hurt. I'm not going to pick on him for being hurt, but prior to that, his productivity, is that a $13 million a year receiver in terms of productivity? I don't think so, man. So I don't know what's going on with that guy. And if Joel Siegel, the same agent Amari has, is the same agent that represents Khalil Mack, if they're going to try to leverage for a higher payday, dude, bye, Amari. Nice knowing you, man. And look, I think he's another guy that has the potential for a lot of, pretty amazing plays and amazing talent he is, but he certainly hasn't shown it the past couple of years, especially this year. So I don't know, man. They got a lot of tough decisions coming up.
Yeah, we got a lot of Mari talk to come. Let me just throw this at you. Gruden admitted that he'll call the pass again on 1st and goal at the 1 with Marshawn Lynch. He doubled down and said he'll call it again right after the game. Is this pride or ego? Do you agree? Why can't he admit a fault anywhere? It's just, I don't know. I'm dying.
Here's what I would encourage you to do. And not even the proverbial you. I mean the real you, Mikey. I would don't think of it as terms of pride and ego, because as ego filled and as prideful as a lot of these guys can be, I mentioned it numerous times, they don't get to these positions in life in terms of coaching and career without being a little bit of an egomaniac and having supreme confidence in their abilities. But this one all comes down to the numbers. And when you look at, like last night in that Chiefs-Patriots game, when the Chiefs went for it on 4th and short, they even told you, the numbers tell you that there's a 70% or 70-some-odd% conversion rate for going for it in that situation. And Mahomes did a little read option thing and rolled out to the right-hand side and dove for like 3 yards, and they converted on 4th down. So when you look at the numbers, when you look at the percentages as far as that going for it on first and goal to go, first from the 1, goal to go, and that pass play, it works like 70-some-odd% of the time. So Gruden's referring to the analytics. Now, people give him a hard time about not being technology-driven and taking the game back to 1998 and all that kind of stuff. But the truth of the matter is that this game is now driven by analytics, and the analytics tell you that the numbers work in your favor doing that from that position on the field. So that's what he's saying. It has nothing to do with Marshawn. It has nothing to do with Gruden. It has to do with everything, that if you're going to roll the dice and you got to tell me that I need to get a 7 or under, well, I'll take it. You know what I mean?
Sometimes you got to believe in your players, and you got to believe in the eye test. The eye test tells you hand it to Lynch. You got to believe in your players. You can't keep doubling down like our president with excuses. I understand what you're saying, but just say, you know what? Maybe next time I will think a little differently. Maybe. That's it.
No, you don't do.
Just.
But you don't do that, because then you tip your hand. Here's a lot of a lot of the criticism.
Who cares? It's Marshawn Lynch. It's 1 yard. What's wrong with tipping your hand? If you can't get 1 yard, even without Marshawn Lynch, you don't deserve to be in the NFL.
I'm not saying you're wrong on that, but I'm saying as a coach, you're not going to tip your hand. You're not going to say on the next. It's like telling your opponent. You're speaking of the president, like from a military approach. All right, we're going to attack you on this beach at this time, so get ready. No, you're just going to go freaking do it. You know what I mean? So Gruden's not going to whether they should or shouldn't be able to get that yard in that play in that situation. That's highly debatable, and I agree with you that yes, they should be able to just line up and get it. But you're not going to tell your opponent you're going to do it. That's never going to happen.
Yeah, but here's the difference. Just real quickly, remember Frank Wright did a decision like on 4th down or something in overtime where they were trying to win the game or whatever. Again, he said, "I'll do it again,"
yeah.
And then they asked the players and the quarterback, what were your thoughts on that play call? And they all said, "We love it." You can't say that about the Marshawn Lynch non-run. If they tell you truthfully, they're not going to say, "Oh, we love Gruden's call. He's trying to win the game." They're going to say, "It's Marshawn Lynch." It's a different situation. It's just whatever. Let's get into
Colts
some stats
lost too. So
say it again. I'm sorry.
I said, and the Colts lost too. So all that.
No, I know.
You know what I mean?
But if you ask a player, they're not going to say, "Oh, we love you not handing it to Lynch. We love that call." They're not going to say that. It's kind of a different situation, but I thought it was interesting. Raiders linebackers. This is before this week's game. They're ranked 32nd, not holding up in coverage. And let's just look at some stats from PFF. That's the linebackers in coverage. Beast mode apparently can't be stopped with yards after contact, which is amazing. He's in the top 3. Maybe not after this week. This is yesterday's game. But still, these are amazing stats, and I just like showing them to show that I could be analytical. And Cooper, he's missing production from the slot before last week's game, and apparently from the slot, he only runs 0.45 percentage out of the slot. He's ranked 52nd in the league. Just horrible stats when you look at them. They're just scaring me. And then here's the funny stat is Carr's numbers are up in passing yardage per game. And this is before yesterday's game, believe me. And then I couldn't get to the stats that quickly. They weren't on screen. But his completion is up and everything is up. Interceptions up. And he looks good from a statistical basis, but it's not working on the field. And then the last stat, there's his rankings. He is 16th in the league in terms of quarterback ranking. And we're worst team in the NFL. Just quick thoughts on Derek Carr and that sort of stuff. Is he a franchise quarterback? That's basically what I'm going to ask.
Well, all right. Well, you got the linebackers up there, though, so let's do these one at a time. Well, which one you want to go? Because I want to talk about the linebackers, too. So which one you want to do first?
All right, go for it. Do the linebackers, and then we'll do Carr.
I've been screaming from the rooftops. For anybody that listens to Raiders Fan Radio halfway regularly, you know that I've been screaming from the rooftops about us and our lack of attention to interior linebacker. And while I see Tyre Whitehead on the screen, and he's been a nice complimentary player, I like how Markel Lee has flashed at times. Aside from that, for the most part, interior linebacker has been a highly neglected position by Reggie McKenzie. Now, a lot of people are the ones that accuse me of being a Gruden apologist or a Carr apologist are the same ones that are now becoming Reggie McKenzie apologists because they act like freaking we were 12-4 one year and all of a sudden we were the greatest team in football and it's all been completely blown up since then. Here's what I would offer you. That right there, what we're looking at, that ranked 32nd in all of those different areas by linebacker, this is Reggie McKenzie. So everybody's open to criticism in terms of the Raiders' productivity, as far as what the Raiders are doing in terms of the scoreboard and the analytics and all this stuff. Any of the negativity, this is a big picture thing. And here's exactly one of the reasons why I'm talking about it. Here's one example. And then also, all you got to do is look at safety. That's another example. How many times have we drafted to address safety and we don't have a starting freaking safety? And to the point to where John Gruden was criticized for not taking Derwin James, but he came out and he said, look, I'm not taking another. So we drafted a safety twice. Why would I spend a third pick on? Like, how many times you want us to draft? Well, that's Reggie. That has nothing to do with John Gruden. All of this right here, these numbers that are in front of us happened long before John Gruden ever even got there. All right, now let's go to Derek Carr. All right, so in terms of Derek Carr, I can appreciate that the numbers are up and that the win total and everything else is down. I would say this, that I picked on Derek Carr for his lack of situational awareness at times this season, and I think that that's a fair criticism still. I think that there are a lot of plays this year Derek would have wanted to have had back, and those plays probably cost us some games, if not cost us the potential to be competitive at the end of those games. Because when he makes the interception on first down, which he's done 5 times this year, that totally robs the team of any momentum. It robs, the emotion, the positive emotion, the spirit of the team going during that drive. It's just they're crushing. It puts your defense back out there. So that is 100% on Derek Carr. But in terms of the proficiency, the high, completion percentage and all that kind of stuff, that's Rich Gannon 2.0. That's what happens in a John Gruden offense. That's what happens in the West Coast offense. So that part of it shouldn't surprise any of us. And then the third thing I'll say is this. It doesn't matter what you do as Derek Carr. You cannot throw from your backside. And yesterday, he was on his backside way too much. He was under pressure all game long. Uncle Mosh and I were sitting there watching the game, counting it off. He had less than a second or right at a second a lot of times from the snap of the ball to try to set up and throw. It doesn't matter who you are in the NFL. You can't be productive from that kind of pressure.
Quick, could you play the audio clip of speaking about if we believe Derek Carr is a franchise quarterback in the NFL?
But Cutler, every year you would hear, guy, he's going to win the Super Bowl. He might win the MVP. No, he's okay. He's all right. He's just not that good. And Derek Carr, I think, fits into that category. He has all the stuff you're looking for that make you think he's going to be a good quarterback. And it's not that he's the worst quarterback in the world. He's just all right. He makes a lot of bad decisions. He has physical tools, and it all adds up to a package that is an NFL quarterback, but not the kind of guy you want to pay franchise money to.
In this day and age, with a guy like Derek Carr, and this is where we have to ask ourselves, how good do we think Derek Carr really is? I mean, is he a top 15 quarterback? Is he a top 20 quarterback? Where does he rank in your ranking?
So I'll just answer it, and I'll let you finish it off.
Okay.
I don't think Derek Carr is a franchise quarterback. The word franchise to me means that there's going to be no issues, and he's going to win more games than not. He's going to make better decisions than not. And a franchise quarterback, in my mind, would be a top 5, because there's only, in probably my opinion and honesty, 5 franchise quarterbacks in the league at any given moment, if that. So I don't believe Derek Carr is a franchise quarterback. He might be called the franchise quarterback because he's on our team, and they hope he will be, but he is not a franchise quarterback, and I don't think he ever truly will be. Your thoughts, Murf?
Yeah, I think that you kind of get a little wrapped up in the definition of what is a franchise quarterback, and I think there's a difference between a franchise quarterback and an elite quarterback. Is Derek Carr a franchise quarterback? Yeah, because he's got franchise quarterback money. He's got a long-term contract, and he's going to be our quarterback for the foreseeable future that they're going to build their offense around. That, by definition, is what a franchise quarterback is. So he is one. Now, is he elite? That's where I think that when you're talking about the top quarterbacks in the league, so we're talking about Drew Brees, we're talking about Tom Brady, right? We're talking about who else you want to throw in there? Jared Goff, right? Like those are, it might be a little bit early on Goff, but those are, when you think of elite quarterbacks, those are the kind of guys that we're talking about. But is he a franchise quarterback? Yes. So is Joe Flacco. So is Russell Wilson. So is, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of guys. Marcus Mariota, not quite yet. He's probably still on the precipice, and he hasn't gotten that big long-term contract yet. But I think that's what defines you. Are you a franchise quarterback? Is the guys that, Ryan Tannehill, whether like him or not, is he elite? No, but he's the Dolphins franchise quarterback. Does that make sense? So I think, and I certainly think Derek Carr is good enough to be a franchise quarterback. Now, is he going to be elite? I don't know, man. Look, elite quarterbacks in their 5th year don't make some of the decisions that Derek Carr does, but he's got the physical attributes. Whoever that was, and they sound like Kellerman or whoever that was, he certainly has the physical talents, and he certainly got the right mental approach. And when you listen to him last night after the game, he says, look, I don't like to win. It tears my soul up just like it does everybody else, but it's not going to change the way I go to work. I'm going to go to work, and I'm going to keep getting better every single day, and I'm going to do the things that we need to do to build towards winning. And that's a franchise quarterback. I'm proud that he represents our football team. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what you want. Now, whether he's ever going to be that elite guy, I don't know, Mikey. I hope so, but he certainly, look, he's on the shorter term plan from this point forward. He's only got another year or two before he's really got to start stepping up and proving himself to be that guy on the field that he is off the field and in the locker room, right?
He also said, does that make human sense in his press conference? I don't know if there's a difference between dog sense, cat sense, and human sense, but that was his statement. I believe he's a quarterback for a franchise in the NFL, not a franchise quarterback. All right, should the Raiders trade Amari Cooper, and to who? That's the question.
I don't know. I mean, I'm all about exchange of value. I'm a capitalist at heart, and I'm all about moving the ball and forward and growing and accumulating, right? Like that's the goal of a football team is you want to accumulate and grow, and your success is defined by how many titles you win, right? Like ultimately that's the ultimate prize. And so in terms of value of player goes, all right, is there more value in terms of draft picks than what the production is and the potential cost for the player on the field? That's what you got to weigh out, all these things. And these are why guys like Reggie McKenzie are so smart, and even John Gruden, is that you look at, all right, what we got to pay him and what he's going to produce, is that worth for the amount of value that we're going to have wrapped up in him? As of right now, Mikey, is this the guy? Is this a number one wide receiver in the NFL? You asked me the question about Derek Carr. Is he an elite franchise quarterback? Well, is this an elite number one wide receiver to you? I mean,
no, of course not.
Heck no. And we hear the excuses all the time. Well, they're putting their best players on him. They take him out of the game. Well, Antonio Brown sees the best coverages. So does Julio Jones. So does DeAndre Hopkins. So does a lot of the best, wide receivers in the NFL. And they still find a way to have an impact on the field. This guy doesn't. And look, I like Amari Cooper. He's kind of quiet, so he's not like the diva wide receiver. But by all accounts, he's a good character guy. Like, he's a great teammate. Like, he's got an awesome work ethic. Like, he's the perfect guy that you want to have on your football team. But his productivity is not that of a number one wide receiver. So if you can get a value in exchange for him, if someone is willing to give wide receiver number one value to you, do you take it as the Raiders? I'm thinking, yeah, you might. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. Do I think they're going to trade him? I think it's after Mac, everybody else is off the table. I think after Mac, the Raiders proved they are going to approach the NFL like Bill Belichick does, and Bill Belichick will trade everybody not named Tom Brady. Ask Rob Gronkowski who they tried to trade in the offseason. It doesn't matter what your name is. If it's not Tom Brady, then you are eligible to be traded, and is for that exchange of value, all that stuff I'm talking about. So as soon as they traded Mac, there ain't anybody else except Derek Carr that isn't on the block.
Yeah, I mean, should the Raiders trade Amari Cooper? I don't know what they're going to get for him now that, he was concussed. The weird thing about this situation is he's due close to $14 million next year in a fifth-year option. They didn't even want to pay Mac that, or whatever the case is. I don't want to get into it. But you're right. Is he a number one? Clearly, no. He's missing a little bit of fire, in my opinion. Does he love football that much? Is he content in life? Being a normal, productive person, earning income for his family. I just think that's why you need diva wide receivers or people that toe that line. You need one with enough fire to not be a distraction, but enough common sense to not be a total distraction. And I don't think Amari Cooper toes that line. He's great athletically, but I hate saying this, I have a lisp, but he is soft. And now, coming back from this injury, he's going to play even worse going across the middle because he keeps getting injured. He's going to be even scared moving forward. So unfortunately, with this concussion, it might be a foregone conclusion, because he already is soft, that he needs to be traded, because I don't know if he'll want to be a receiver in the slot anymore after this. I don't know.
It's funny, during the game, when he got hit, I looked over at Uncle Mosh and I go, did that just keep him a Raider right there, that hit? Because what you're saying, I think there's a lot of truth to it, Mikey, is that now we're going to have a lack of productivity, and he's, somewhat injury prone. He's certainly injured right now. And look, and a concussion is nothing to play with, man. I mean, I've had them myself. My son's had one. They're nasty. It's not anything you can treat lightly. And so he's got to take his time to come back, especially when you've been knocked cold like that. And so, Mikey, is that enough of a drop in that whole value thing I just talked about to where it's not going to be worth it now for the Raiders. And because of that, does that then open it up for Amari Cooper to take a lesser of the payday? Like, is he, you know what I mean? Like, will he accept a lower contract now because now he doesn't have the numbers to support it, and he's got some injuries to deal with. So it might have actually helped him. For those of you that want us to keep Amari Cooper, it might actually help the cause, because if he would be perfectly healthy right now, there'd be a lot more of a value to him to trade him. So he might just end up being a Raider now.
That is an excellent point, and I appreciate the debate. And while we're on the trade deadline specifics, Carl Joseph, in the early morning, there was a fire sale report. We're going to actually talk about that a little more later. But who should the Raiders trade before the deadline? Because Carl Joseph is rumored, Garyon Conley's rumored, Amari Cooper's rumored. Just from your opinion, you could speak on the players separately, but who should the Raiders trade, in your opinion, before the deadline to get draft picks or values? Because that's clearly what John Gruden is doing.
Yeah, again, it goes to that value discussion. So anybody that you can acquire value in trade that, exceeds or matches what their value is on the field, then yeah, I think you take a deal. If the Raiders are, and look, you've been on this for a long time, and I kind of battled you on it a little bit about the whole Raiders being in a rebuild. And the Raiders, I thought, were in an office rebuild. They were in a cultural rebuild. They were changing the dynamics of the organization from the highest levels all the way to where they play football at. So we know that there was a rebuild in that fashion going on, but I didn't expect that we were going to see the personnel rebuild that ultimately we're seeing. And so look, you were right. You've been calling that for a long time, that's what was going on. And look, the coaches are, and the front office is going to come out and tell you that's what they're going to do. But at this point, I think that it's evident that that's what's going on. So if that's the case, then yeah, then anybody that you're not seeing production from, anybody that's not a starter, then yeah, because for whatever reason, whatever the system is or the scheme or the whatever, Carl Joseph does not fit in. And granted, he wasn't first round talent kind of production to begin with anyways, even before Paul Gunther, but he clearly isn't fitting into what Paul Gunther's system is. Garyon Conley clearly isn't fitting into that system. And I would say that there's an importance to be the guy that the coaches need you to be in their scheme. And here's why. Raider Nation, if you remember what it was like when we had D'Angelo Hall, do you remember that, Mikey? D'Angelo Hall, by all accounts, was one of the best cornerbacks in all of football. The Raiders signed him to a huge contract, but nobody...
4 games he played, I think.
Because nobody bothered to ask him if he was a man-to-man defender. The guy had only ever played in a zone defense his entire career and did very, very well, but as infatuated as Al was with cornerbacks, nobody bothered to ask him if he could play man-to-man. So he shows up in Oakland, he's a put him in a man-to-man scheme, and he gets destroyed. He's awful. Like, he looks terrible. So what happens? The Raiders jettison him. He goes on, and he still ends up having a great career playing zone defense. Well, if for whatever reason, whatever the schemes are, whatever the type of defenses that Paul Gunther is putting in place, whatever types of coverage he's asking Carl Joseph and Garyon Conley and these guys to do, if they're not working for him, then move on. Then move on from him. But just get that value, and then let's build for whatever kind of scheme. Now, here's the important thing, and I'll say the last thing, I'll shut up. The important thing is this, is that if this is the road we're going to go down, we got to keep the plan. And this is where I say, as fans, we got to be patient. Is look, yes, it sucks to lose. I hate us losing more than anybody, I promise you. But if there's a scheme, and we're going to need to get talent to plug into that scheme, and then we need to see if that works. Well, I'm willing to wait. Now, if it goes 2 years and we put those guys in and we're still losing, well, then fire everybody again. But as of right now, we got to keep some kind of continuity and some consistency and let the coaches build with the talent that they need to accommodate the system they're trying to implement. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but the question was, who should the Raiders trade before the deadline?
Everybody not named Derek Carr. Trade them all, man. I'm serious. Like, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? We're going to lose more? Like, I mean, we've lost them all except one, and it took a miracle comeback against the Browns. Trade them all, man. I don't think there's anybody. Jordy, you're not going to get any value for because he's so freaking old. But everybody else, I mean, you're not going to trade your this year's draft. But after that, I mean, trade them all. Okay, I mean, who? Because here's what I always say too, and it always cracks me up when us fans, when we lock in on players. Look, and I become fans of players too. I love Rashawn Melvin, like I love Markel Lee, I love obviously Marshawn. I love these guys, but when in terms of production though, if it's going to help the team win, I'm a Raiders fan before I'm a player fan. So and right now we're not winning, so everybody's on the. I think move them off. You have to. Who cares? You're not going to lose anymore. You're already losing. It's already bad. It's not going to get any much worse. You know what I'm saying?
If I could just quickly rebut and answer the question, I believe Derek Carr should be traded. Because, again, not that I want him traded. I still believe in him. But, like, the way this season is going, everybody's on the trading block. The New York Giants need a quarterback for the future. Maybe Derek Carr, we can get some first-round picks for them. I don't know what's going on. But, hey, I just threw that out there. Way too early predictions. Answer the question, will Gruden draft defensive end Nick Bosa? He's projected to go in the first 5 picks.
If the opportunity arises, sure. I mean, here's the problem with this stuff is that there are so many moving parts that you never know where they're going to end up. We don't know what the Raiders are going to be. We don't know where they're going to draft
We're going to have the first pick. We're going to have the first pick.
Overall?
Oh, yeah.
I think the Colts are going to argue with you. I think the Cardinals are going to argue with you. I think the Niners are going to argue with. Look, we're not the worst team in football, believe it or not. There's some pretty bad football teams out there, and we still got a long way to go before this thing's over, man. So you never know where we're going to end up. So I would say this. Is he one of the players that the Raiders could possibly target in the draft? Yes, and here's what I would tell you, Raider Nation, is that now that we know what we've got as far as the team goes, we know we're most likely going to end up with some sort of a top 10 pick. And so let's start looking at some players in college football. It's not too early because, college football's on every Saturday, and you can watch an Ohio State game and see how Nick Bosa's doing. You can watch Alabama, and you can watch Jonah Williams play on the offensive line. You can watch Greedy Williams play for LSU. You can watch A.J. Brown, the wide receiver at Ole Miss. You can watch even Bryce Love at Stanford because we need a running back as well. So look at some of these guys, man. Look, because you know what? There's a good shot that the Raiders are going to have a chance to pick one of these guys, and we freaking need them, man. There are lots of players that we need, and there are lots of positions that we need. So definitely, Mikey, is Nick Bosa at the top of the list? Yeah, but he's at everybody else's top of their list too.
I would say no. Even if we had the first pick of the draft, John Gruden will not draft at this moment the best player in the draft on defense. He will go offensive line or wide receiver or running back because Gruden clearly only cares about the offense. And to prove his ego right, not even pick a pass rusher, because then that pass rusher will constantly be compared to the Khalil Mack trade, and Gruden doesn't want to add that to his plate as well. Gruden will not draft a defensive end in the first round.
Well, but then if you feed your conspiracy theories, what would vindicate him more than if he did draft a guy that had as high level of production or higher than Khalil Mack? What if he does draft an all-pro defensive end? Then no one criticizes him for that anymore. So if you want to go conspiracy theory on it, you can go that way with it too.
Look, you can reverse a squirrel, but it's still a squirrel. All right. What type of art cleats would you wear? If you could get a designer to design a cleat, that was Daryl Worley's cleats for this week's game. Do you have a favorite artwork in your mind or comic book or something like that you would put on cleats?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is, I'm a big pop culture guy. I love me some Star Wars and Indiana Jones and all that kind of stuff. But I think as far as artwork goes, I like Batman artwork the best. So I would get something from The Dark Knight Returns or A Death in the Family or some classic, Batman graphic novel and have something like that on my cleat. I think that would be. But it depends on your nickname and stuff though too, right? So, as of right now, I would get the Murf's Fan Cave logo on the side of my cleats. You know what I mean? But if I had to go something pop culture, then I would probably go with Batman.
And I had to cut out the name, but those are cleats from Rydell. And if you want to look at the weird hypocrisy about this picture, is you put the Nike swoosh logo on a pair of cleats that are Rydell. Because Nikes are the expensive brand, and you got to represent the swoosh constantly. If I were to put a design on a cleat, I would put dollar signs, because that's all I want on my cleats. And that's why I'm wearing the cleats, is because I'm trying to make dollar signs. I'd probably, who's the dollar guy? The Riddler in Batman?
The dollar?
Isn't there a guy with dollar signs?
No, he's got question marks as the Riddler.
Oh, that's what it was. Whatever. All right, let's get on to the game
Traded him,
recap. Whatever game recap we got, boy, that took like an hour, man. Let's get into it. Let's quicken this up. Here's the headline again. The London debacle puts the Raiders in full remode for Las Vegas. Fired football coaches of America, I miss you. ESPN, do you need a host again? I don't know. I just thought that was funny. Give me your quick thoughts on the game, man. Just summarize it.
It was absolutely nothing to cheer for. I traded some messages with folks on Twitter over the past couple of days, and somebody mentioned something about they were really they got excited about the Arden Key sack, which was an exciting play. But there was two that and two other plays. There was the Marshawn Lynch catch and run, and then there was the Worley interception. And I'll tell you what, Mikey, it was so funny because I'm sitting there with Uncle Mosh. We're watching the game. We're basically caught up in conversation because the game is, so incredibly boring to watch. And it was like when Eric Harris hit whoever that was and the ball popped loose and Worley we were like shocked. It was like we got caught off guard that there was something to root for because the whole game there was nothing to root for. And then all of a sudden this happens and it was like, oh, wow. It's like, are we supposed to be excited now? Like, yay, Raiders. Like, it was just a weird dynamic, man. And you know what, Mikey? I'll say this one last thing real quick. I feel awful for the Silver and Black UK and for all of the Raiders fans internationally that traveled to the game. We get correspondence from guys from Scotland, from Italy, from Norway, from all over Europe and the UK that travel. Heck, we got guys from here and girls from here that traveled over to go see the game. I feel awful for them that not only did they spend all that money to go over there, but all that time, and then this is what it turns in. Now, look, you will always be, you can always cherish the time you spent together. You got to spend time with Raider Nation. You got to spend time with your family. Like, those are the most important things, right? So you got to experience that together. But the product on the field and the fact that you went that far and maybe that was your only time ever to see the Raiders and you couldn't even see them score a touchdown, that's awful. I just feel so bad for those fans.
Again, monetarily, it's disgusting. We have to get excited for an Arden Key sack? I mean, literally? Is that the state of the Raiders? And you're completely right. Monetarily, I mean, yeah, spending time with family, going to London is an adventure, but the adventure was closed out with people losing a lot of money watching a team that's clearly in a rebuild in which John Gruden is asked constantly, is he rebuilding? And he's like, I don't even want to discuss that. Well, he keeps doubling down. Why can't he say it? We all know it. It just pisses me off. And then this is something that made me mad monetarily. The NFL pulled a trick. I don't know if they did this purposely, but monetarily, the game was in London, and on Sunday Ticket, it was not aired on Sunday Ticket, in which we pay $400 for, and a lot of people didn't get the game on Sunday Ticket. My friend included that uses my code, and whatever, the game was not on there because it's international. So are they going to add money to international games because it's not local in America? So is this another Sunday Ticket, NFL Europe ticket to get the London games? Like, what was this that happened? It didn't happen for everybody, but it happened for a good amount of people, including me, where I couldn't see the game. I had to watch it on Red Zone. I made a joke where, I have to watch it on Red Zone, but I couldn't watch it. It was not on my Sunday Ticket.
Do you watch,
I don't know.
Do you watch it digitally, or do you get Sunday Ticket on your computer?
I get Sunday Ticket on my DirecTV box, and it wasn't on. It said game or something is not being aired or something.
Because I have DirecTV and I don't watch it online. I watch it, on the box and the Genie or whatever, right? And I had the game, so I'm not.
I didn't.
Yeah.
This guy didn't either. If you read that thing, people were saying, "Did you watch it on your box or digitally?" And they said it wasn't even available digitally when you but you had to log on to NFL.com or something. But still, I've never seen this, and it freaked me out. Is the NFL possibly trying to do something to get more money? It's saying it's a London game, it's out of market, or does London control it because the game went to London and it's their TV market that Sunday Ticket doesn't want to pay them for a London game? I don't know. I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, I'd be pissed if that happened to me. It didn't, so I'm thankful it didn't. But yeah, I can see why people were bothered by that. Certainly.
Yeah, luckily they showed all the mishaps from the game on Red Zone. They're like, Derek Carr started the game, got sacked, and they kept showing it. It was good. It was like good on Red Zone. Instead of a touchdown, they showed the fumbles and the sacks and the way the Raiders played. It was weird.
Well, let me say this. For those of you, including you, that missed it, you didn't miss much. I'm serious. Like I am the kind of guy that like I lock into a game. Like I don't want people talking to me very much. Like I want to be focused on what's going on. That's why I don't typically like Super Bowl parties, even though I have them all the time. I typically, because I want to watch the game. I'm invested. Like I'm immersed in what's going on. I was not immersed in this London game at all. Uncle Mosh and I were having way more fun talking to each other than watching the freaking football game. It was awful.
All right. Here's a question. Again, before the game, there was a fire sale. All the media outlets reported that Amari Cooper officially was on the trade block. Okay. I don't consider that fake news because somebody had to leak that he's actually being shopped. Again, people like me can make a popular clickbait video. Should Amari Cooper be traded? Will he be traded? ? But this was, he's actually being shopped. Okay, we know the details of that, and we know why. But who leaked this information? Is it McKenzie's camp? Is it Gruden's camp? Like, just give me your thoughts on this. This is something very scary right before a football game. And they were in London, so they couldn't get this information and, do damage control. I don't know. Who leaked the info, Murf?
Well, Jay Glazer's the one that dumped the story, and, the week prior to that or 2 weeks prior to that was when Rappaport dumped his story about the division between the potential division between Gruden and McKenzie. And the NFL just kind of seems to like to do this to us. And I'm actually shocked, being that Gruden is a real recent member of the media, that folks are doing this. But this is not news, right? As far as like Raider Nation, we're used to this because people had such a case of the ass for Al Davis and the Raiders. They would do this kind of stuff to us all the time. So I'm not surprised by it in that aspect. But I'm a little bit surprised that now with Gruden back at the helm that they're doing it to him per se. But this is not. But the story is not surprising to me at all. Again, when you're 1-5, you're way on the outside looking in. Like, I mean, you got to pretty much win out, or certainly close to it to make a playoff spot, and to compete for the division where you got a team that's already, now they're 5-1, but still at the time undefeated. So, I mean, this is not surprising to me, man. I mean, look, I don't like it. I like Amari Cooper a lot, and I wish that he was doing better so that this was not a story. But when you have the questionable productivity that he does, again, if you can get some value in exchange for him, well, then you shop him. And he's not the only one. Is he the most high profile? Is he the biggest name? Probably, but he's far from the only one.
Yeah, in a bad rebuttal to this, John Gruden, again, at the press conference, was asked, did you hear the story came out that you're shopping Amari Cooper? Then he goes, no, we're not. I just hope the guy's okay. He's a great guy. We still want him to lead this offense. I just hope he's okay. But no, we're not shopping him. Well, you can't shop him now. He's injured. You lost value on your return, John Gruden. They're not going to pay as much now for an injured wide receiver coming off of concussion.
Hey, and I missed addressing something that you brought up. You asked the question, who leaked this? I don't think this came from the Raiders. I think the leak comes from another team. I think that's where it comes from, is that if you are Reggie McKenzie and you shop it to a deal to another GM, and then that GM talks about it with some operations guy, personnel guy, whatever, then that's where your leak comes from, because that's where Jay Glazer has the connections, right? So somebody hits him with a text and says, hey, we just got off the phone with the Raiders a little bit ago. They're wanting to move Coop. That's where the leak comes from. So no, it's not the Raiders. It's another team, but it still sucks because somebody violated the Raiders' trust in this.
Yeah, but then that still proves John Gruden lied at the end of the press conference. If that's a legit leak, then he says, no, we're not shopping him.
Well, then the other case could be, just like with Khalil Mack, are the Raiders shopping him or are people inquiring about him? And that's different. And that's the thing where like with Mack, the Raiders weren't shopping him. The Raiders got offered a deal.
That's what the report was. It said the Raiders are shopping.
But they said that about Khalil Mack too, and that wasn't true. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Just because somebody says it doesn't mean that it's true. So are the Raiders?
So you don't think they were shopping Khalil Mack? They weren't saying, hey, if you guys want him, whatever, call us.
No, they weren't shopping. They weren't actively shopping. People were calling them, making them offers because they knew that a deal wasn't getting done. That's what was going on, and that's not unheard of, man.
It's still shopping. It's still shopping if you take the phone call. If you walk into a grocery store, regardless of who brought you there, it's still shopping.
No, the grocery store comes to you. That's what this is. You want to draw the example. It's somebody coming and selling you door to door. Do you answer the doorbell and somebody says, hey, you want your carpet cleaned? No, I'm good.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or, yeah, come on in. You know what I mean? Like, that's the example. The Raiders aren't, I don't think, on a lot of these reaching out. I think people understand what the dynamics are and they're reaching out to them. And that, and that's why Gruden can honestly, say no. It's not the case, And here's the other thing too. He's not going to say if they are, and that's again, it's the poker game, and that's what as fans is a lot of times where we take it like, oh, they're being dishonest. No, they're not giving away their strategy, because if they tell us, and they're telling all the other 31 teams in the NFL too. I want them to keep this stuff secret. Don't tell us. If you're shopping Amari Cooper, I don't want to know, because I don't want the other teams in the NFL to know that you're wanting to get rid of the guy. Because what that does is that drives down then the value that you can get for the player, right? So I don't want to know this stuff.
Again, the story said the Raiders are shopping it. I'm going by what they said. And I truly still believe Gruden is shopping for the groceries. He's clearly proving that regardless. But whatever, there could be a way to look at every story. Just quick thoughts. We've talked a lot about Amari Cooper, but why the hell was this not a flag? Even after looking at Amari Cooper lying on the ground, any person or referee with common sense would say he got hit in the head. This should be a flag. I don't know, man. Your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I kind of gave my thoughts earlier, so I don't want to totally repeat myself. But I think the gist of it is this: is that he got hit. It wasn't leading with his head. He didn't lower his head to contact. The defender turned his shoulder. It just happened to have helmet to helmet that followed. What I think the discrepancy is, and where I get crossed up, is that I don't think the Raiders got the call because they're the Raiders, that not any other team, but a lot of other teams' receivers in the league get that call regardless of what the intent was by the defender.
Yeah, I mean, it's just sad to see somebody go down that's very likable. Regardless of football play and being traded or not, like, he's a great dude, and it just hurts to see somebody go down. And then on top of that, the NFL disrespect us with a no flag when we all said, in today's NFL, you can't even touch the quarterback's head, but you can clearly touch a wide receiver's head. But it's a sad state of affairs, and I hope the NFL says we made a mistake. They need to, in my opinion. With that, regardless, it should have been a flag. This is very interesting. Vic Tafur, I love this dude. He said, not only did Rogers Cromartie replace Garyon Connolly in the starting line, first-round pick, did not play one snap on defense, only on special teams. And then Raiders Beat responded with, what could Garyon Connolly have done so poorly that he can't even get on the field for one defensive snap? And that's Josephine Scriver, a model, actress, superfan that went to the London game and bought a Garyon Connolly New Jersey to rep the team in London. But seriously, what is this Garyon Connolly situation? Yeah, your thoughts, man. Is the Gruden purge? Is this proving it? Like, my goodness.
I mean, clearly there's something that Gruden and or mainly Paul Guenther doesn't like about him in the offense. And, when you get burned deep like he got burned against the Browns and the Chargers, you're not doing yourselves any favors as far as acquiring playing time. So, clearly they like, everybody likes DRC. I mean, that guy's just an awesome veteran. And Darryl Worley, I mean, it's another one I've been saying for a long time now. If you've been listening to Raiders Fan Radio or even here on this show, I mean, Worley is a great player. He made a dumb decision when he got drunk and passed out in his car, but as play on the field is fantastic. He's a great player, and if he fits the system of what Paul Guenther's looking for, well, then the Raiders completely stole him as a player. Guy's like 26 years old. Like, I mean, he's going to be good for a long time. So, Conley was struggling. I mean, he had some good games, but he also struggled mightily in terms of those deep passes that he gave up. And so, look, he's a young player. Look, what Gruden said was this, is that he's still a young player. He's still got time to develop. Mikey, essentially, he's in his rookie year. So, now is that a guy you're going to trade away? I don't know. You're not going to get first-round value back for him, and you've already spent first-round value. Now, if he's a complete, non-fit and you just need to move on from him, I kind of understand that as well. But I don't know, man. I just don't see that the Raiders moving on. But I agree with Raiders Beat on this. What is it that he did so horrifically that you can't put him back in the game for even one single snap? I don't know. I don't know what that is, but clearly there's something that they see that they don't like about Gary and Conley. And for Josephine here, look, at least buy the newer jersey. She bought this last year apparently because it's number 22, and that's now Rashawn Melvin. Number 21 is Conley now. So anyway, she only makes $50 million a year. You'd think she could afford a new jersey.
She went to a discount store, so she thought it was a new jersey.
She should have got
That's
the
how
Mac.
much of a fan
She should have got the 40% off Mac jerseys that we saw down there in LA at City Walk.
That's true. I'll buy them. Or she should get one of the jerseys that they keep burning on a weekly basis. But my response to this Gary Conley situation, okay, look, if Gruden is rebuilding, he doesn't want to admit it, he's planning for the future, he's planning for Vegas, he wants all the young players to play, all the rookies, all his rookies. He's letting them, okay? And then he's starting veterans that are old over Conley. How is Conley going to get better if you don't let him continue to play and learn from his mistakes if you are constantly building for the future? It kind of doesn't make any sense. If he's trying to win now, the veterans, because they're playing better. But if you're playing clearly for the future, you play Conley because he's in his rookie season. He's letting all of his guys play, and then all of Red's guys, he's purging them out. And then you said Daryl Worley's a good player. Well, look at this stat from Matt Schneidman per Pro Football Focus. Raiders cornerback Daryl Worley was targeted 5 times and allowed 4 receptions for 100 yards with 1 pass defense versus the Seahawks. Worley's 3.85 yards per coverage snap allowed in week 6 ranked 78th out of 80 cornerbacks that played more than 20 snaps in coverage. And to a guy named David Moore. Who the hell is that? Daryl Worley is not better than Conley. They're probably the same, if not Worley's out practicing Conley. But here's my take on it. I believe Gary Conley speaks up and goes against Gruden. He did it in Twitter. He did it last year when they talked about his injury. He speaks up. He's not a yes man. So Gary Conley is challenging Gruden's ego for players and play on the field, and Gruden doesn't think a rookie, a first-year player, a Reggie McKenzie guy should challenge him in any aspect. And Gruden clearly wants his guys.
Well, in terms of challenging, he did that to McKenzie way more than he ever did to Gruden. And in fact, that was a disaster last year. If you think back to the way that the Conley injury was handled, he was, adamantly denying things on Twitter, going right against Reggie and the organization. So this is not a Gruden exclusive thing, this type of behavior. This is a Conley exclusive behavior that he's willing to do to anybody. And in terms of these numbers, you can make numbers do anything with them. You can serve any kind of narrative and story that you want by how you would choose to interpret them. Because when you watch that game, and now there's no arguing the numbers. There's no arguing these facts, okay? So I'm not trying to make an excuse for them to serve my own story. But what I will say is this. For those of us that watch the game and you watch those plays that Worley got beat on, he wasn't in a bad spot. He wasn't getting beat for deep balls where he was out of position. He wasn't committing those eye violations that Jack Del Rio used to refer to. He was making great plays on the ball, and this David Moore guy was just high pointing and beating him in the play. When you watch them, they were contested throws. This wasn't like he was just getting torched. So I would say that while those numbers, there's no arguing that, but I would say in context, when you watch the play on the field, Worley didn't play a bad game. They just beat us, and they beat us all over the damn field in way more positions than just that one.
Yeah, I was just concerned because Connolly, I don't know, man. I made it a topic of the Gruden purge, and I didn't want it to be real. But like with every decision, it looks like Reggie's picks are slowly leaving this team from the outset. It's just confusing to me. And speaking of more Gruden confusing to me, after the punter, I've been saying this all year, he doesn't look good. That's just from my view. But this week, he didn't. Gruden gave an excuse for Johnny Townsend's punting in London. And when you give excuses for your players instead of taking accountability, I think that sends the wrong message. But he said, in terms of Johnny Townsend, he didn't punt the ball well enough. This might have been the first time Johnny's seen a drop of rain since he got off the plane. I don't know if the slick field had anything to do with his bad punch, but we have to punt the ball better. He had a 30.7 net punt average in London. Your thoughts on Gruden giving excuses for his rookie?
Well,
or his draft pick, his guy.
This is where we depart, and that's where I feel like sometimes not just you, but anybody that's clouded by their disdain for John Gruden is that you read that as an excuse. I read that as a shot. So you're saying this is the first time Johnny's seen a raindrop since he got off the plane. Like, that's taking a shot at the kid. I don't look at that as it making an excuse. There's sarcasm, and y'all's sarcasm detector needs to go off a little more frequently, because he's saying, I don't know if the slick field had anything to do with it, but we got to punt the ball better. So look, Junior, if you're going to use the slick field as an excuse, that's fine, but you've got to be better. Like, I don't look at this as an excuse at all. I look at this as him taking a subtle, sarcastic shot at this guy, because clearly his punting is not up to par, and still we're talking about the freaking punter. So get rid of him if we have to. We'll find another one.
Good take. I mean, like I said, you can take a squirrel and turn it inside out, but it's still a squirrel. Honestly, I love it, because we both got different takes on every subject. And all right, I call this game, what he really saying is, like, give me your thoughts on what Bruce Irvin is actually saying with this statement. After the game, he told reporters, we lost, but I've got a beautiful wife I got to get home to. Boy, I'm going to try to make some babies, man. So what do you think Bruce Irvin is really saying with that statement about positivity, of being positive, and he's got a beautiful wife?
I mean, I'm glad he's got a focus on family, and, you know, football's his job. It's not his life. And I get that, and it should be. And I'm glad to hear that he's got a healthy marriage and that things are great for Bruce at home. That's an awesome thing. We should all be so blessed to have, find our significant other in life. That's a great thing. But in terms of the context of this and the terms of what this guy has meant to our football team, this is an absolute slap in the face. This is an absolute dismissive comment. And, this is basically somebody saying, like, well, things are going great, but I don't care because I've got other things, And so the last thing fans want to hear from you as the player is I don't care, especially when the entire narrative for all of the offseason was, this guy's going to get his hand in the dirt. He's going to get to be a true pass rusher. We're going to really get to see what Bruce Irvin is capable of because he's not in that Ken Norton Jr. defense. Yada, 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 yada. And all this guy does is taking too wide angles to the quarterback, takes himself completely out of the play, and has been non-existent. Mikey, I haven't been this let down by a Raider in a long time. I was so hyped about what Bruce Irvin had and the production potential for him this season. And he is completely fallen off the map. The guy barely even shows up on the stat sheet every week. And then you make comments like this? Later, dude. Like, I'm over Bruce Irvin by a long shot. And if he didn't have such a fat contract and wasn't so old, then he'd have all the trade, maybe some more trade value. I think this is the kind of guy that would be gone. He should have, this is the guy's, look, I know you're butthurt because we traded your buddy Khalil Mack. I get it. We're all butthurt because we traded Khalil Mack. But the bottom line is that the Raiders made a business decision and you are working for a company and you're either going to be a company man or you're going to be gone. And right now, it's just frustrating because you needed you, Bruce. We freaking needed you, man. We needed you to be a leader for this football team. We needed you to be a leader on the stat sheet. We needed you to take control, man. Put that C on your chest and take control of this defense, man, and be a veteran leader. And he didn't, Mikey. He let us down. I think, and frankly, and look, I'm not in the locker room, but I think he let the freaking team down, man. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, last week the story was that, it was a shock that they let go Khalil Mack and they were pissed off. And then he actually said, I was just at Khalil Mack's house the other day. So, like, is he traveling to Chicago or was that before, right after the trade? I don't know. But clearly the fact is, and to my question is, here's what Bruce Irvin is really saying with that statement. He's saying, I'm checked out. I've checked out. I've moved on. The season is what it is. I no longer care. I want to be positive in my life. I need to be positive in my life. Like, I don't care what's happening on the field. I got a beautiful wife. I'm going to go home, have some sex, make some babies. Because that's what I'm thinking about. My priority is the future, and it is not the team, and it is not right now, and it is clearly not getting better or making the team better. My priorities are I'm going to be positive, go home, and live my life. I checked out. So all he should have said was I checked out. That's it. And that rubs off on the other players.
Heck yeah.
If the other players weren't checked out now, they're checking out. Right, they're literally in the hotel lobby right now going, is it 11 o'clock? Do I got to check out now? Is it checkout time?
This is the guy. This is the guy we want being an example for Arden Key. This is the guy we want being an example for any of the young players that we have on the team, especially on the defense. Are you kidding me? Like to have this mentality that it's okay. Because I'm with you, Mikey. This is a nice way of saying I'm checked out. And that's what we want to have on the football team. Like that. Like, dude, you're a vet. You're a pro. You're a longtime guy in this league, man. And it's, look, and also this is another way, too, for him to deflect because this takes the attention off of what he's done or lack of what he's done on the field. Clearly, he's a complimentary player. He's not he should have been the guy, and he hasn't been. So, I mean, all signs said that he had the physical gifts to be it, and he didn't do it. So, I don't know what the problem is, Mikey, but the guy is no longer a Raider to me. He lost me on that one, dude.
Yeah, there's so many headlines this week. I mean, it's a great show. This rubbed off on Charles Woodson. Listen to what Charles Woodson, the GOAT Raider player, said about John Gruden regarding this team. Listen to what Charles Woodson says.
Throwing the interception in the red zone, not giving the ball to Marshawn Lynch, trading away your best player, and only having one win this season, Charles? The floor is yours. Talk to us, though.
Well, I'm trying to figure out, is he trying to rub it in our face? Like he traded away our best player, our best pass rusher. Then he gets on the podium and say, hey, we got to find a way to get pressure, right? Then we on the 1 yard line. We got beast mode in the backfield. We call a pass play and we throw the ball. I'm trying to figure out. And then he says, look, if I was Marshawn, I would have been mad too. Like, is it a joke? Am I a joke? Man, I'm saying, you know what? Y'all, I'm sick of it, man.
And he walks off stage. So, I don't know. That Chris proves he's a Raider fan like all of us, and we don't understand what's going on. But I clearly say Gruden just doesn't have it. I think he's taken on too much. I'm going to have to let this sink in that we're rebuilding maybe next week. I'm going to have to let it sink in and get rid of all this hatred and negativity and plan for the future. But I think Gruden doesn't have it. I think he's taken on too much. I think he should have hired an offensive coordinator to build his system. Just be a head coach. You barely came back after 10 years. Be a head coach. Coach the team. Learn their personalities, become their friend, but also be their boss. Learn the ins and outs, and let somebody else build your system while you can coach in your first year back. You need to learn the schemes. You need to learn all that other stuff. I think he's taken on too much. I know he wants to win. I know he wants his guys, but he has taken on too much, and he doesn't see how it affects the rest of the team, the players, the fans, and he doesn't care, but he should. I think he's taken on too much. I think he should hire an offensive coordinator, and I think he should focus on coaching and building the franchise right now as opposed to, take care of everything else. I don't know. Just your thoughts, man.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in that you can be a jack of all trades and a master of none of them. And so I think that what your criticism is absolutely fair, Mikey. That is it possible that John Gruden has taken on too much and that he's not able to do any one good thing great because he's trying to do all these things good. And I'm a firm believer of that you can be tentative and you can not take chances and you can be good, but you're never going to be great. And the only time that you can become great is by sometimes you have to delegate. Sometimes you have to turn it over to other people and enable their success so that their success in turn, then reflects back on yours. And, so I'm with you. If now they've got an offensive coordinator by title in Greg Olson, but, so I'm with you, and I hear the frustration in Charles Woodson. Look, and he is one of the GOATs, and he is, I just did a thing honoring him on Raiders Fan Radio this last week because he's one of the all-time greats, and I trust his opinion, and I trust his opinion more than I trust my own. And even though a lot of the way that he addressed Gruden's practices this far don't necessarily line up exactly with how I feel about it, but I'm willing to trust him over myself because he's been in the locker room. He's one of the greats, and he knows and loves this team, maybe even more than we do, Mikey. You know what I mean? If that's possible. So I trust his frustration, and I share in it. I mean, I'm frustrated with it as well, and I know that you are. And so, does that mean that we just got to scrap it all, and are we going to fire John Gruden? No. The answer to that question is no, and you're going to have, whether you like it or not, Raider Nation, Mark Davis is going to be your owner, John Gruden's going to be your coach, and Derek Carr is going to be your quarterback for the foreseeable future. So just get used to that. And now what we can do different within that to make this team better, I think those options are all on the table.
Yeah, we're not going to go into stats. The show's running long. But just quickly look at Derek Carr's pass completion depth chart. One pass play around 20 yards. I know he was under pressure. I get it. Yeah. But again, how can you alleviate the pressure if you don't go deep? How can you create a run game if you don't go deep at least a few times? Again, I don't care whether the players are there or not. John Gruden's game planning with injured linemen was not up to snuff. They didn't have tight ends, blocking or double teaming or whatever the case is to at least give Derek Carr another second to throw the ball deep. And he started the game with 3 runs. I mean, if that's not predictable as F, and then it looks really, really bad. And he's looking as bad as Eli right now, Derek Carr in Gruden's system. I understand why the numbers look the way they do, but again, there's got to be at least a few more attempts, regardless of the O-line down the field. That's just my thoughts on that.
Yeah, well, and that's I'm not going to agree with you on that one because, this is an absolute reflection on the pressure that he was under all day long. You cannot throw the ball from your rear end. He was under pressure constantly, and if you watch, and unfortunately you didn't get a chance to watch because you watch on Red Zone. When you go back and watch the game play by play, there were lots of opportunities where he would set up back in the pocket, trying to work the ball downfield, and no one was open, Mikey. There were a few plays, there weren't many, but there were a few plays even where he did have time, and there was nobody open. There was nobody getting open, and that's what I'm screaming about this team is that, no one's helping him. Look, you can call me a Derek Carr apologist, not you, the proverbial you, the people on the chat, because I can't read the chat, but I know they're yelling at me. They're calling me a Derek Carr apologist. But look, who's he going to throw it to? What do you want to just throw more interceptions? I promise you, those calls were in. Those plays going downfield were in. We saw them. They weren't there. Those plays were not there either because of pressure or because nobody was getting open. And now that is 100% on the other players. Now, you can turn around and pin that on Gruden because, he got Jordy and he got Martavis Bryant. He got whatever, and that's fine. But But this isn't a Derek Carr thing. This chart is absolutely misleading, and I know who put this thing together, and I know that he got called out for it also immediately as soon as he put this thing together because everybody started responding to it the exact way that I'm responding to it. Was that clearly, dude, you didn't watch the game because if you look at the passing chart and not with the context of the game, it's completely misleading.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a great statement. But I would also beg to differ that Gruden went into this week knowing he's got injured offensive linemen. They didn't play so good last week. He should have put in some. We got 3 tight ends. Why couldn't you have the fullback in to block? Why couldn't you have the running back to block? Put them all in to block. Put a wide receiver to block. What's the point? At least on a couple of plays, put the tight ends to block constantly, put the fullbacks in. So there should have been 2 or 3 or 4, at least more attempts down the field with players blocking. Again, I hope I can see the game, but I just said, Gruden game planning wise, I think he just missing a lot of things. All right, let's move on. We got to move on. Next, we would normally do a game preview here, but we're not going to because we're on the bye week. But we are going to have a Mondays with Mike and Murf. And Murf, I'm letting you know that we're going to do a 2018 State of the Raiders broadcast. And I want you to be brutally honest, or all of us, with whatever we're feeling at that moment. So we're going to call it the 2018 State of the Raiders Brutal Honest Monday. And I know you can do that for us, Murf, because you're always honest with your feelings and your emotions, just like I am. Good or bad, we're very brutal, but I want you to be brutal. I want you to be a little bit more brutal. But let's just talk about our Raiders and the state of the Raiders on next week's show.
In terms of that, so real quick, I'll just address that. I'm very critical of our team, and I think that as a fan, you have to be upset when the team loses. But here's the thing, though, I'm not a negative, and I'm not saying this directly to you. I'm just saying to those of you who are going to tune in, but I'm not a negative guy. I'm willing to at least embrace the positive side of the outlook. Now, and that may not always come to fruition, but I'm a firm believer that you can, not necessarily will things into existence, but if you're just going to embrace the bad and never look past that, then you're kind kind of destined to repeat it. So I'm always trying to look forward, looking for the good in things. So I will definitely be brutally honest in my, discussion there on the state of the Raiders, but I'm not going to look backward. I want to look forward. You know what I mean? I want to look at what we have to look. Why are we doing what we're doing? Instead of, beating up on Gruden for what he's done, I want to try to dive into his head a little bit and have a better understanding about why he's doing what he's doing and what that's going to look like in the future.
Yeah, and that's the point I'm getting to emotionally. Unfortunately, I was too invested this season, and it all looks downhill. And again, I just want to see progression week to week. Now I'm not looking forward to victories. I'm looking forward to small wins or small victories, meaning Derek Carr looking better, the offense looking better. Whatever the situation is, that's what I'm going to use looking forward. And next week, we're going to discuss that. So we have to do that. And I just want to give props to where props is due. My boy, New York Raider, he's an amazing Raider fan. He wrote a poem after this game in London, and he posted it in one of my videos, and he presented it online. His dad is in the hospital having brain issues, but, still recovering, trying to live life, and he was able to watch the game with his father in the hospital room. Regardless of win or loss, that memory was with his father while he's trying to recover. And he wrote this poem, and I'd like to share it with everybody in the Raider Nation, and I will read it out loud. Just let me make it bigger. Forgive me. Here it is from my boy, New York Raider. He wrote, "We are the Raider Nation. We've been through it all. Tuck rule, LA move, and the index card ball. We've sucked for so long. Us fans know the struggle. This year makes no sense. I can't figure out the puzzle. Stuff is bad when the team almost makes you forget about Jamarcus Russell. We can't win a game. We can't get 1 yard. We can't sack the quarterback. We make it seem so hard. Please tell me what happened. Let me know the answer. We trade Khalil Mack. Is John Gruden the cancer? Or is it a curse? Or is it just the same station? It's sad to say this, but we're used to this crap. We're Raider Nation." So it's a nice poem. It hurts, but it clearly shows the true emotions of the Raiders for life at this point in our season. Thank you very much, New York Raider. My best wishes to you and your pops. All right, you got anything you want to say to the world in getting out of here, closing Murf? And thank you for a wonderful show, by the way.
No, thank you, buddy. And yeah, just real quick, because that kind of hits close to home, I just want to say to New York Raider and his dad, much blessings and prayers for recovery there. For you don't even know this, Mikey, but my wife had brain surgery 7 years ago. She had a tumor removed and has been recovering from then, so we've dealt with a lot of brain injuries and issues in our home, and so that's a very familiar subject to us. And so I pray that everything goes well for your dad on that New York Raider, because I know how tough that can be as far as a recovery goes and a readjustment and whatnot. So much love to you and your dad on that, and well written on that poem. I mean, I think he pretty much hit it on the head there about how that makes us feel. But you know what? No matter how this makes us feel, no matter how bad it gets with this team, we're always proud to rep Raider Nation. And you know what breaks my heart more than anything, Mikey, is that when I see people online and they're disowning their fandom, they're throwing the team aside. Don't let the team's performance dictate your fandom, because your fandom can be defined by so many different things. It can be defined mostly by like these situations where your family, the time spent together, the time spent with Raider Nation, like that's what it's all about. You can still, when they move to Vegas, you can still have barbecues. You can still get together just because of where the team plays or how they're playing. Don't let that impact your fandom. It's still be proud to be Raider Nation, because while you may not be proud of what the product is on the field, you can always be proud of us, because I'm proud of you all. You know what I mean? So don't set it aside, Raider Nation. Hang in there, man. We got this. We're going to be fine. One of these days, we're going to get back to the good days. I promise you. One of these days, it's going to all make sense, hopefully. And so let's go ahead and keep carrying that mantle, keep carrying that torch until we get to that spot. So thank you for those of you that checked us out tonight. I can't read the chat, but thank you to everybody that's been in the chat tonight. You guys rock. Thank you for everybody that supports On Air Nation, Raiders Fan Radio. Mikey, you're the best. I love this show, and let's go watch some Monday Night Football.
I completely agree. And in summary, I just want to say this is a family. And that's why the Raider Nation are the best fans in the world. Even when we're mad, what do brothers do when the other brother is mad? They get them madder, but then they respect them and then they say, you know what, let them be mad, and we'll figure it out together, and they don't jump ship. And I'm a true Raider, regardless if I'm mad at Gruden, I'm mad at the way things are going. I'm a true Raider for life, and I hope you all understand that, because this is truly my only family. I don't have a lot of actual family members around me that I know. So me making videos, even being mad at Gruden, makes it my family, because family can be and are allowed to be mad at family. I love you, Raider Nation, and let's sing the theme song and get out of here. Monday Night Football, who you got, Packers or 49ers?
Give me the Packers by 100.
Let's go. I don't want the 49ers to win at all. I got your back. Let's go. Because it's Monday with Mikey and Murf. We talking Raiders and family dirt. Because the best Raider talk show with Murf Fan Cave, that's a good one too. Raiders Fan Radio. Pillaging Podcast is amazing. Suspense with all of them is amazing. We're Mondays with Mike and Murf. We love you all, and we will see you next Monday. Hopefully, it's a victory Monday. It is a bye week, so we will be winning regardless. We'll see you next week.